Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name's John, and today we are talking about, can our beliefs determine our reality, or how much of our reality is shaped by our beliefs. So first, let's get one thing right out of the way. I am not talking about something magical or spiritual in any way. I believe that this works purely on the psychological, natural level in many, many ways. And this only works within the span of things that you can control. There are many things in this world that affect us that we have no control over, such as other people's actions, the weather, the economy, etc., etc. So this only works within your sphere of influence. Now, your sphere of influence may include some people, but at the end of the day, it's their decision to act and behave the way that they do. You may have some influence, but ultimately there's never a guarantee that how you act around them will produce X result, because ultimately they are free to behave as they choose, as you are. So we're talking about things that are within your control and creating your reality. So let's set a scenario first. And we're going to reduce it down to actions first and then work back towards beliefs. So let's say 1 year from now, you want to be in a certain place. Let's say you want to have a full-time job and you want to be out of your mom's basement, let's say, just for fun. Now, you have two ways of going about this. One, you can do nothing and simply think about it. You can apply to no jobs, you can acquire no new skills, and you can put in zero effort and spend all of your time doing things that do not produce the outcome that you want. And guess what? Most likely, very, very probably, within a year from now, your reality will be exactly the same as it is if you don't make any changes. Your reality will reflect the actions that you've taken in the world around you. But let's say there's a different scenario. Let's say that you do decide that you want to have a full-time job and you want to get out of your mom's basement within a year or two. And you decide, hey, I'm going to put in the work. You acquire some skills, maybe take an online course, beef up your resume, do some volunteering, whatever it is you have to do, and you apply. You apply to lots of jobs, as many as it takes, and you go hard for a year. Guess what? Which scenario is more likely to produce the outcome that you want? Well, that's easy. The one that you put in the work. The one where you put in the effort and you make an effort and you make a change. And so that's step one, is to understand that you can control to some extent, the reality that you're in. If you want to continue playing video games in your mom's basement, well, guess what? If that's all you do, that's all that will happen, unless you get kicked out, in which case you have a choice to make in that scenario. But if you put in a lot of work, beef up your resume, and get out there and apply for jobs, eventually you can have a full-time job or two part-time jobs. Sometimes you have to start there, and you can make an income, and eventually you can work your way up to finding a place to live on your own, provided that rent prices are not sky high. Because again, that's one of the things that you can't control. You can't control the rent that people charge, but you can control, the amount of work that you put in and the kind of jobs that you apply for and the kind of jobs that you accept. Does that make it easy? No. Sometimes you might have to go to school to get a certain kind of job that you like. The point is that you have a sphere of influence. You can influence your will on the world to a certain extent. You don't have complete control, you're not omniscient, and you can't make everything the way you want to. But you do have a level of autonomy and a level of control. So you're going to say, well, that's all good and John, but what does that have to do with my thoughts? Well, our actions are determined by our thoughts. Don't believe me? Let's break it down. I'm going to use myself as an example. When I started my door-to-door sales job, I was way out of my element, and I was afraid, and I was nervous, I was anxious, and I wasn't sure if I could do it. in that moment, I had a decision to make. I could either apply myself, work hard, and learn as much as I could, and adapt, and hopefully grow and rise to meet the challenge and grow up to meet the needs that I had to do. Or I could not put in any effort and say, this isn't for me, I can't do it, and leave the job, and I never would have become a good door-to-door salesman. So the point is that it all started with my beliefs. Whether or not, which of those actions that I took started with my beliefs. If I chose to believe that I wasn't good enough, and that I wasn't capable, and I could not learn, and I could not rise to the challenge, and I couldn't change, and I couldn't adapt, well, guess what? I wouldn't have put in the effort. I would have walked on to the job site and said, this sucks. I can't do this. I can't grow. I can't figure this out. This isn't for me. And guess what? I wouldn't have put in the effort, and thus I wouldn't have gotten any results, and I would have become even more discouraged and more unlikely to put in the effort, because it was a self-fulfilling prophecy. If I believe that I can't, and then I'm not going to apply myself as hard as I can, well, why would I? I don't believe that there's any results, so why would I bother putting in the work? And thus I create my own self-fulfilling prophecy by telling myself, I can't do it, therefore I'm not going to try, I'll quit tomorrow, and I'll go find another job. Boom. I just created my own reality. I told myself, hey, I can't do it, this isn't for me. Guess what? A few days later, I quit. Guess what? I no longer have that job, and I can't do it because I don't have the job. I just created that reality. But that's not what happened. I said, hey, I betcha I can learn. I betcha I can figure this out, and I'm gonna figure it out. And I applied myself, and I put in the work. My actions were a direct result of my beliefs. Your thoughts and your beliefs determine your actions. It's that simple. And your actions determine the kind of world, to an extent, the kind of world that you get to live in. My actions determine that I still have that job, and I can actually do okay at that job, and I might actually get promoted. But that all stemmed from my beliefs. My beliefs said, hey, I believe that I am capable of doing this if I put in the work. Therefore, I will put in the work, and I will apply myself. And guess what? I still have that job. I can do that job. I did learn. I did grow. And now I can do the job well. And that's the new reality in which I live. I live in a reality in which I am decent at door-to-door sales. I can do the job. And that all stemmed from my beliefs. I believed that I could do it. I believed that I could apply myself, and thus my thoughts and my inner talking to myself decided, hey, I can do it. That influenced my emotions. I said, yes, I am capable. And that emotions drove me to actually put in the work, put in the effort, and therefore my actions were putting in effort, and that affected change around me. That's how I got to keep the job. I got good at the job, and that's why I still have the job. And that's why I live in the reality in which I have the job. If I had thought to myself, hey, I can't do this, I'm no good, and I believed it, that would have influenced my emotions. I would have been discouraged, uninterested, and said, this sucks, I hate this isn't for me. Next day I would have quit, and guess what? I just created a self-fulfilling prophecy. I told myself I couldn't do it. That influenced my emotions, and that influenced my emotions, which influenced my actions, and thus I didn't put any work, and therefore I didn't get any results, and I created my own reality by not doing it. I'm very grateful that that's not what happened, and yeah, that's really how it all works, in my opinion. Again, this only works or applies to within your sphere of influence. You can't always control the weather. You can't control what other people do. You don't have direct control of the economy. And there's lots of things you don't control. But you can control yourself. And how you behave determines how your future will look. If you work hard at a skill, you acquire that skill, you use that skill to get a job, guess what? In the future, you will have that job and you will make the money from that job. If you don't work hard, you don't apply yourself, and you don't bother to reach upwards, guess what? You are most probably not going to get the job, not going to get that income, not going to be able to move out of your mother's basement. And that all starts with your beliefs. If you believe you can acquire the skill, then your emotions will say, hey, I can do this, let's do it. That will determine your actions, and then you'll actually go and do it, and then you will create that reality. And so that's how it works. And so I encourage you, if you have a goal, you have a dream, do not allow yourself to say, oh, I can't do it, or I'm not good enough. Everybody starts there. We all started as a baby who couldn't walk. Did that stop you from learning to walk? No. So go out there, decide what you want, be reasonable, be realistic, set realistic expectations, but ultimately you have to believe that you can do it in order to get started. You're not going to take that first step if you believe it's impossible and you believe that there's no good that you can do. And so it has to start with your beliefs. And that's basically it. I encourage you guys to go out there, whatever dreams you have, whatever you're trying to do, believe that you can do it, and that will get the engine rolling in your brain, and sooner or later, that will help you start taking action. I hope this helps. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great one. You can follow me on social media and all the links provided somewhere, and you have a great day. I'm turning it off.